Welcome back to watercolor. This is part 2 of exercise 1, and here in this part you'll be experimenting with different shapes and also with color combinations. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to experiment with mixing the colors that you have on your palette and on a piece of paper choose a shape or maybe a few shapes to be the expression of those colors. And you can use the colors straight as well if you want to, but definitely experiment with the mixtures. See how many different color combinations you can make from the colors that you have. And for my shape that I'm doing, I'm using lines, and I'm going to do a series of lines across my paper. And you'll notice that I'm not putting any lines directly next to the one I just painted. And the reason for that is that the watercolor can very easily mix with a color that has just been put down. So I just put a line of yellow next to that line of neutral tint plus Viridian, and they started to blend together. So I am spacing the lines out so that I'm allowing drying time between each one, and then in a few minutes when each one is dry I can go back and put a line next to one that was wet just a few minutes ago but now has dried. So this yellow here should be dry, so I can no problem putting a line of burnt sienna plus yellow oxide next to that. This yellow is still wet, so I'm going to avoid that one, and I'll put one here. So just experiment with color combinations and choose a shape to render those colors. There's really no rules besides that. I would just, like I said, avoid putting wet colors next to wet colors, and just, pay attention to what's happening with the colors. Like I said, you can get into color relationships and what colors go interestingly together, but just try to kind of get lost in color relationships and creating different shapes. And the shape is up to you. Because I'm doing lines for this, I'm using the 2 smallest brushes, but if you were doing bigger shapes, maybe if you were doing a circle, if you were doing circles, you might want to use the larger brush, and you can experiment with what brushes create the best shapes. That's going to be my anomaly, I guess. I'll work the lines around it. But yeah, so I'll speed up the video so you can see the final result, but yeah, just experiment with colors and have fun with your method.